because also, I mean, I don't have to put it up there, but I'm starting, if people want, to put up some of the uncut zooms as well, because if people want that on the YouTube channel.
Oh, is it recorded also with visuals?
Video, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to do that. I'd like to keep them. I used to just chuck them away, and I thought, no, maybe there's some valuable material here, because these are artists I'm talking to, and not everything makes it on the radio show. So, and some people love to watch videos, and people do watch my YouTube, not many people, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that's cool. Anyway, we're not doing, let's think about the radio show, wasn't there? Think about that. So yes, so let's talk about the Preludes. So tell us about the project.
Oh, well, it started a bit weirdly. I just, I don't think in the beginning I knew what exactly it's going to be. I knew there were going to be Preludes, but it all began because somebody asked on a Facebook group about Logic Pro X users, and they were a beginner, and they asked, what is the best chord? And everyone laughed. Everyone was, ha, 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 what kind of question is this? And I thought to myself instantly, it's a great question. And I have an answer. The mystic chord is the best chord. I mean, Scriabin believed it had almost divine powers, you know? So how can any other chord be better? And the way it's impacted you, so I wrote it down, and then I showed I went out to Facebook, and I just had actually bought my MIDI keyboard at that time, a Tour MIDI keyboard, and it was really late, I can't remember, midnight or something. So I put headphones on, and I started playing around with the mystic chord that night, and I wrote one track that later became Prelude number 1. But in the beginning, you would have to really play it with 2 pianists. That's how it was originally, and so I wrote that, I put it out, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to explore the mystic chord, the synthetic scale, and maybe some chromaticism in the middle, and some transpositions, and write a set of preludes. And I was in the beginning, I kind of knew, I think always they're going to be 10, so thinking sort of as kind of circular thing, and at least for me. And
you know what, I'm going to have to interrupt. I'm going to I'm going to shout down. So my boyfriend's practicing guitar in the background. All I can hear is him practicing guitar. He needs to turn down. I've got to just, you probably can't hear it, but it's like, I thought I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to zone it out. I just can't. Matt, darling. Sorry, he's not a nightmare. He's absolutely wonderful, but he gets on the guitar and he just can't stop fiddling. He's like is hyper, keeps him busy, and it's very good, and he's getting better. But recently, since he took up the guitar again, he's like it's like every second it's like not like shut up, but how can I say, because I'm a musician, I'm playing all the time too, but he's a fidget, so he's like and it's okay until you're trying to concentrate, and then it's like
yeah, then it's hard.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to start again. So sorry to put you back to the beginning.
Okay.
So yes, let's talk about the wonderful Preludes project.
Oh yes, okay, thank you. So the project started out of, I guess, a joke, and because somebody asked on a Facebook group what's the best chord, and everyone laughed at the person. So, and I thought, I mean, it's not funny. The best chord is the mystic chord, and the Scriabin believed it almost had divine powers. And I thought, yeah, this is an amazing chord, you know, and there's not much done. Well, not that there's not much done, it's been used a lot. But I went to Facebook, and it was really late, so I took my little MIDI keyboard and I kind of wrote one prelude that later, after different changes, became Prelude number 1. And then I had this idea to do a project, the 10 preludes that would kind of be so based on the mystic chord and a bit of synthetic scale and some chromaticism. I mean, through different modulations and playing around different composition techniques, some of them do sound a bit more like they in a key. Where someone actually asked me why you not put this in G minor, and I said, well, because there are notes that are outside of G minor and that maybe are dissonant, and they are as important as the rest. This is just, you know, by chance that it sounds this way because of different sort of things that I've done to it. And I wrote a few preludes, and then I changed most of them once I finished number 6. So once I finished number 6, I kind of had this clear direction. And then I realized I wanted to be about creation of like our planet, maybe, let's say, or existence as we know it. I would say that. And it's not necessarily, it's not based on any religion. So, and not a non-religion either. So it's just my own interpretation of our existence. Let's just say it that way. And so it goes that they each have names, which came sometimes after, sometimes during the composition. And one of them, the last one, the name came the day before the recording in Latvia. So I had already performed them. I performed the last one, completely different one, and with a different name. I actually called the first one in the beginning Prelude, and the last one Fugue, and other ones had names. And then later, the first one became Space, and I changed it. And the last one, the night before, became Us, because I wasn't happy of how it was before. And I just kind of felt like Us today, that should be in there. And in the score, when I was trying to explain it to a person who, Donald Thompson, amazing composer, he helped me with the editing of the score. So for people to understand, we put on underneath like Us in the here and now. Do you know, like sometimes you play music and you feel like it has to go somewhere. So within the Pence Prelude, I just want you to acknowledge who you are and where you are. It might be good, it might not be that good. Nobody's perfect. So, or the society isn't perfect, but this is where we are. So they do follow a pattern, and they use different compositional techniques. They're definitely not the same. I would say that the first one, Space, is very much like a prelude, but it's very spaced out as it says. And it was just more, I was thinking about that cosmic sort of space and as well as something empty, something before anything. And then the next prelude is called Before Time, and I like to play 2 and 3 before time and burning together. So it's kind of before time, if you can imagine whatever would happen before the Big Bang. You know, when the Big Bang happens, it's like a big thing. So what before, and then the burning is sort of after. And to kind of before time, maybe for somebody who does get the score later, and Before Time also does not have any time. We had to think a little bit how to do it in conventional notation. So it's, I mean, you can show a little bit here.
Wow, it's so beautiful.
It doesn't have any time signatures, and it has a lot of things that says like repeat steadily, independently, hands play independently to each other. And a lot of it is at liberty of the composer, of the performer.
Is that a kind of chaos thing?
Well, I think I would say more organized chaos, because I feel in cosmos or universe, whatever, I think there's no such thing as unorganized chaos. I think maybe we just don't know the organization. No, it does. I think it's just, for me, I was looking around for textures. I probably can't play on this, can I?
Yes. No. Have a go. Let's have a go. I think that.
I'm not to my. I'm just going to use my digital piano just here. So I'll have to run around. So it has these textures. So in 2, it kind of just has like an underlying. And it's like kind of to create this something. If you think of something that is big, you know, I kind of found like the bass and the large strings. I can sort of make a big texture, and then And then it moves on and it has these independent things. So there you have chaos, exactly as you said. And it sort of goes somewhere. And then in burning, you have kind of this aftermath of burning. And it is very much texture-based and representing some sort of image of sound. And then second half, it becomes a bit more literal or macabre, because I think we're approaching something, any kind of thing, but something. So they kind of all tell a story. I'm not sure if they have rounded up with the last one being asked, because I don't think that's where the story ends. But so that was the final change. But they are a little bit. So I mean, number 4 is Dance with Demons. So maybe for somebody that's something bad, for somebody maybe that's inner demons or something that comes before. They all have quite literal titles, but I think it's more the image of it. You can really think of what it would mean to you. For me, they all do mean something. So Towards the Light is before we meet sort of any kind of a human form, and the human form, the first introducing human form is calm and fragile. Because for me, I thought, of humans, I just think our soul is so fragile. We all, when we're little, when we're born, and it's just such a fragile thing. Everything that's around it will impact it and change it as you grow. So I just thought, for me, and that was the first one I finished, and that was where I was kind of I think, I can't say it's my favorite one, but and there I kind of felt, like it's gotten somewhere, and not the usual use of domestic chord. So I don't think it's harsh or gives some sort of great explosion. I actually found it quite soft, and that was something that I set out to do, is use the synthetic scale or domestic chord to create something soft and kind of nice. And I mean, the idea in another way is that we always think of everything as major happy, minor sad. If it's without a key signature, without a key, then it's some chaos or something, unpleasant to our ear. I don't think that necessarily is true, because I think we are not as harmonious as we think we are. So, we're a lot more dissonant, and then I think it can be very pleasant. So my journey through these preludes was to find that, and I feel like I did. And then so sort of from 6, they're more finished compositions that tell a story. So that you have Vespers of the Sea, Earth, which is I was thinking about the earth breathing and a connection to earth. And then we have this dream of utopia, the real dream, and then us, back to reality.
Back to focus in on the person who is either the listener or you, the creator. Well, people become the creator when they play as well, then they're creating your with your template, or with where what you've given them to kick off.
And I think it's like, maybe not if anyone could learn to play them, it's just maybe how you play them that is important. I'm gonna apologize like a very, very tiny second. For some reason showing my battery is low, and I thought it was full. So I'm just gonna.
Oh yes, no worries.
It takes 1 second.
Yeah. I can say something now about the chord. I think it's really great because it's made you really self-consciously, or it's pushed you into thinking about such big subjects, but yet humans do think about big subjects. I don't think it's at all, in a way, aggrandizing yourself to take on big subjects, because we all contemplate big subjects all the time. I think it's what we need to do in music and art, and is think about big things, that it's normal for humans to do that. And I think everyone wants to do that.
I think for me, it's a lot of it was a lot of improvisation, and I drew these triangles, and I used magic square, and I transposed, and then I improvised, and then I thought, And then within the playing and everything, you have these thoughts. And when I have these thoughts that are composed, I guess I don't really think about myself or me thinking about something or wondering what is, the meaning of life. That's not necessarily like that. I just feel like, okay, I'm improvising now, and then I feel like suddenly maybe I've gone for a walk and I think, okay, but I have this image of this earth breathing, and I kind of play and I think, yeah, this is it. This is, I think like this is how it should sound. Somebody might completely disagree with me. Like they might not show them the same thing, but for me it was. And I think that's why for me I was so scared to actually just now when it all came out and I played it in Pushkin House, I was very scared, because I did feel a little bit like when I compose them, I'm very much in my own space. I don't think much about what anyone else thinks, or if it's fitting a certain way of composition, or have I done certain things? Has it got a certain form? How does this fit into the big realm of contemporary composition? I'm just a bit more involved in the music, and then when you put it out there, it feels like a little part of yourself has been put on a pedestal. And then when you have to start talking about it, it does sound like they're huge subjects, but in the moment it doesn't feel that way. Does that make sense?
It totally does, because I'm always thinking, when I write poetry and when I write music, more poetry, I think for me, I'm always drawn to huge subjects, and it starts off something small, but then suddenly you're thinking about, I don't know, like you say, creation, the universe, before time, after space, looking into the deep sky and seeing rocks millions of light years away, thinking how birth begins, people before they become people, what are they, where are we from, where are we going? These are like normal or perhaps natural things to think about as soon as you go into your own space.
I think they are. As soon as you allow yourself to, not make a list of groceries in your head, or or something, or think, where is this going? What's my plan? When you don't think about yourself that much, and you give yourself actually space, your thoughts to kind of wander. Maybe it's an artistic thing, I don't know. But I think when your thoughts wander, so I'm sure also writing poetry, when you write one word, the second word, and you think, and we have recollections of stuff and things that we've read or seen, and that influences some way of thought, and maybe music or what's happening outside. And I did write a lot of this in lockdown, so I was very much within my own headspace.
Yeah, I think when I do music, mostly I'm a little bit more, because I tend to write at the moment. I've been writing with my other half, and we tend to write a little bit more perhaps dancey or song, because we're thinking more what sounds good, what's triggering it. But even that, in the emotion of it, you have a big feeling and a big thought sometimes. Sometimes it becomes more abstract, and I'm thinking of images that are, to me, they're huge. They're about the way things fit together, about patterns, about nature, about all kinds of things that I consider to be the stuff of life. And
but it could be great dance music. Every music has also lyrics and other things, and the textures and figures of sound. I think that's just so interesting. And that's something that, because I did explore a little bit digital textures before for Reverie, and exploring that on the piano and having that time, I think maybe it made me a bit more free, also think about other things. And I think just writing within, without having that, I wanted to use the word shackle, but that's a really bad word, the shackle of scale. But but having sort of a little bit of freedom to explore, I feel like I felt very free writing. I'll be honest, I just love spending time with music without having to think about other things. unfortunately, of course I do. You all do, you know.
Well, flashing through. I'm really interested in your being drawn so much to these, both impressionistic, I suppose is one word people use for the kind of music that doesn't fit a beat or fit a song structure, that feels a little bit more changeable, like water or wind or the weather. They use that word impressionistic because it seems to sort of be a bit changeable. I'm really interested in how you sort of you seem to do very well in this world, very comfortable in an impressionistic music sort of scape that isn't so pinned down to a strict recognizable form.
Yeah, like ABA, or you know, you have this harmony and it has to move to this harmony, and there have to be so many harmonic changes for a composition to be minimal or not minimal, maximal, classical, romantic. It's very difficult. And I think when I start to think that way, and I do know these things, but when I start to think that way, I kind of feel that I am not, at least for me, maybe always being that creative, that I am thinking in this way and then adding something that fits it. And I think maybe just sometimes, and I think this is the pretty much, I think it's a lot to do with the past 2 years, because they were so, we had so many rules and you had to be so careful about everything. And before that I studied and I had to be careful about how I played and everything, because of course, like, you know, it's for my degree and other things. And this time, in this, or you know, the previous as well, I could be free, and that wonder to find out and not worry. I do love it very much. And then you know, this new thing that I'm looking to explore with electronics and piano, I mean, just love exploring the textures. It's like I said, I think in this other interview, I feel like a little child at Christmas morning. You know, when you open the presents and all of these wonderful things come out. So when I can be by myself and not worry about maybe what somebody thinks or where something has to go, I can wander around. And I guess that's so sort of improvisation. A lot of it comes from improvisation, and then, you know, it is written down, and then of course it has some structure as well. It's not like it doesn't have any structure. It does have a lot of changing time signatures, but it does time signatures. But
that's partly to also express it in a way. It's partly to do with notation.
Yeah, that's part of do with notation, especially because you know,
if you could write that a little bit perhaps more naturally, maybe it would have or simply like you sometimes are using words as well or describing it. I mean, notation is a little clunky for that. I think it's so expressive and good, but
I had somebody help me with this. Actually, Donald Thompson helped me with this, because I would have not done this alone, because the time signatures change a lot, and we had many Zoom meetings. Because I said to him, I was in number 9. So I said to him, I'll finish number 9, I'll send it over, and I handwrite it. It's easier for me to handwrite it. Even though I do so many things digitally, music I like to handwrite, and a lot of my own developed shorthand, which he learned because we worked together. So I said with number 9, I said to him, like, look, it has phrases, it has like parts, but it doesn't have any particular indication of time. So there's no like you know, whatever, even andante or something. But we did pick cantabile rubato, so singingly and with stealing time. So but I asked him for not to have any bar lines. So they didn't want bar lines. This is something a little bit that I've before discovered and really loved in the works by Satie. I'm a great fan of Satie.
I can
impressionistic, right? So and I was like, I don't want any balance. How can we do that? You know, it's obviously on writing it myself, I can do that on paper, but how can we do that to give it out to people, and how can we do it so people understand kind of how to go? So we just did it with phrase lines. And I mean, this only bar line is for glissando. I think it's over here. So sort of in the longer phrases finish, we have this little, it's just kind of a dotted line to telling you that that sentence or episode has gone. And as it says here, real dream, so I was more thinking of like little episodes. Is that episodes? Visions? I don't know.
I like to do better, but episodes would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Kansas, and
hard
different.
hard to analyze your own music after. So it's yeah, after you just hope that people like it and they play it.
Of course, it's more simple afterwards. I'm quite interested in the ideas though, and in actual fact, I'm just going to ask you a couple more things that are curious about. I'm particularly curious about Scriabin because somebody I never really took to as a composer, in the sense of I haven't had that moment with him yet. You know how you have light bulb moments with composers and you go, oh, I get you now, and all that stuff. And I'm fascinated, but I don't know much about him because the whole idea of him actually looking for the mystic chord. Why did he go looking for a mystic chord?
How did I go looking? Oh my God! Well, this should be a whole other show then in this case. So I think the Mysterium he never finished. That was supposed to be in the Tibet, right? He looked at Zoroastrianism. He believed in something called omniart, that everything is gonna come together, and that the real people of that gonna rule their future are gonna be artists, people in literature, painters, musicians, the scientists. He always looked for new things. He believed that every time that he played a note changed the universe. He was very interested in a lot of different ancient not philosophies but mythologies. His piece Prometheus is quite crazy, and he has thing about numbers. Everything had to be fitting a certain amount to make it whole, or like a bar numbers, and it's a very fascinating character. There's so much to say about Scriabin, and while I've never played too much Scriabin, I've always been fascinated with his life and the story of Scriabin. And also, because he did things that I love to do. So he liked to combine colors with music. So he did a color keyboard. So colors with music, then music with dance. The shows, they had music and they had dance and they had lights and all this final thing of Mysterium that was gonna be every sense imagining experience. And unfortunately, I think that they did sort of something recently, but he never really finished the Mysterium. And I hope I hope that is kind of that I haven't said anything wrong, but yeah, so he's fascinated by synthesia, by color, by collaborating different things. And these ideas I find very inspiring. Like, I find very inspiring, very inspiring how he naturally moved to sort of the more kind of dissonant chords and structures and harmonically, and how he used things. So I guess it was natural to him. I just, I think he was a fascinating character. There are people that say he was very much full of himself. Probably he was. I think he was just, I heard a lecture years ago where someone said that he had a godlike complex, and I think that comes back to the fact that he believed anything he did changed the world. But I think it's just his character maybe was out of this world. Like, this very interesting person, and kind of wish maybe he all his dreams came true, about especially about omniart. I feel like or people more working together now, especially we do love to collaborate, but we are very segregated as how we hang out. Musicians hang out with musicians, scientists hang out with scientists, dancers hang out with dancers. I mean, in general, not everyone. I mean, we, you know, I kind of seek out the difference. You know, I always do, and I like to get inspiration from other people, and that's where kind of I thought, yeah. So Scriabin is, for me, is a very inspiring individual. Of all the things that he did, I found him quite fascinating. I'm not here to.
You
think
get
about
huge ideas. So he seems a man of huge ideas, and then again,
you know, you need to.
But as we were saying, huge ideas are actually quite natural. So you get somebody who is off on his own, so that he can articulate and immerse himself in those big ideas. There's such a strong drive to do that. They have to be somebody who impresses you because they kind of manifest. He's like a manifestation of that drive, it seems, to think on this level of the mystical self.
Yeah, and there's a lot of philosophical influences and you know, and the color and everything. And I mean, I'm not you know, talking much about Scriabin, as I you know, he probably wasn't the best spouse or something, you know. That's
It's new to me, so I'm yeah.
It's more about Scriabin has yes, kind of, you know, this sometimes you get these crazy artistic people that have these vast ideas and you know, and the work they do comes out and it's good. And Scriabin, I think the things that I've read and sort of seen and documentaries, that is always, it's quite impressive. Like I really suggest you just after have a look at I just said it, Prometheus, Scriabin Prometheus, and yeah, there's something to, I mean, it's very well, it's you know, quite crazy. Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of stuff. I was just I was gonna look something up to say more of you know what, before we spoke I thought I should have like the basic facts up for the Scriabin, but I didn't think asked me so much about Scriabin before. Well, I know a lot more. Is when I'm put on spot, I feel a little bit you know,
not about it, but you know, when you feel like, oh gosh, I must have the facts when it comes to an end, but it's not an interview we're chatting about. I just wanted to ask you more because I don't know enough, and for me, I'm going to be coming to Scriabin through your music, and maybe some other people will take that route as well.
So here's a little bit that I think that's what I was trying to also say. So in 1909, he was working increasingly grandiose projects, and he planned this multimedia work to perform in the Himalayas, and could also so-called Armageddon, a grandiose religious synthesis of all arts, which would be heard the birth of a new world. Scriabin only sketched the pieces for Mysterium. Also preliminary part, you know, there's a preliminary part. I think there's also in Himalayas they made like recently a perfume for Scriabin or something like that. So this was gonna be like a huge thing. So yes, he had this bigger ideas. You know, some people just, I can't say just, because people write romantic piano music and it's absolutely amazing, you know. Yeah. But it's just I find it fascinating, and we're talking about 1909. And before that, you know, we're talking about different century and these lights and colors and dancers and all the senses. And I find, you know, nobody has, you know, and now when people do that, as everybody says, you're so creative. This is so new that you combine, like, let's say, dance and music, and it's not so new. Scriabin did it, you know.
Yeah, it's that vision is so inspiring. It also seems so unnationalistic in a way, because he's talking about human that attempt to try and get to human essence.
Well, yeah,
and-
he's interested in different religions, and as one thing, he was very interested in Zoroastrianism and symbolicism, also Russian symbolism as well, of course. But he's very interested in lots of different things. Yeah, and I find that. I mean, yeah, I find it hugely exciting. As a person living and having all these different influences, and maybe not exploring all of it.
Yeah, well, I hope I'll be interested to see what your next work can go after this, But I can see the Satay influence. There's somebody I know.
So the music is definitely not like Scriabin, which is a funny thing, because then it's like the story of Scriabin of the mystic chord, and that's the inspiration.
Yeah.
So musically, it's somebody said a bit like French pianism or impressionism, which is again interesting because I'm not, I do play Sati, okay. but maybe not that much others. But yeah, I think the music is very much my own. It's very much my own voice, and I think it kind of is quite clear through the preludes. But the inspiration, I found it quite interesting. That night, I did read a huge essay about Scriabin before I started writing these. So, because I think the last thing I watched before that was a documentary by BBC, and then the second or third year in the conservatoire, I attended the masterclass, and I wasn't playing anything, I was just watching. Second year, it was my first year at Trinity. I went to every masterclass there was there that year, and even if I played or didn't play, I didn't play any Scriabin at the time. I just went to watch this masterclass. And when I can't remember where the professor was from, I think Sweden or somewhere, and he's talking about Scriabin and all these ideas and how he believed he could change the world, and how he believed he was almost God, and how maybe he wasn't such a nice man in real life. That not resonated with me in that way, but I found it really interesting.
Yeah,
I found it fascinating. It's like some sort of movie character.
Yeah, well, I think when people are big characters, or they have big ideas, people who have grandiose ideas, they're really fascinating. Even if you don't admire them in every way, maybe
I don't want them to be my best friend, but I can.
Stick side of you, they do, because they do symbolize the big ideas that we all have. I mean, we all have grandiose, I think. Well, I mean, I certainly do. Not all the time, but I do. I mean, when I'm writing poetry, I can feel like I'm the best poet in the world. Or when I'm writing music, I think, oh my gosh, you touch an emotion and it just feels so enormous, and you feel like you encompass everything that ever was and is, even though it's just a feeling of connection or of but it's a feeling of being, which is huge because you feel like it's everything.
Yeah, I think it is everything you do, like or paint or take photos or write poetry or write or do any type of music. And I think it really doesn't matter if it's classical music or electronic music or anything else, or folk music for the fact. Music does bring you to a sort of a different state of being or art as well. At that point, you're a bit different, you're a bit away from today's world or all the other things. Because really, when you're immersed in something that you do that's artistic, you don't think about, I don't know, your bills or what you got to buy at Tesco's.
That's right. And I think it's like opens portal into another
into another world,
it is almost literally into another world as well. It's like another psychological world. It's like an alternative world that's always there, but music is like the gateway to enter it, and you can't really describe it all in words because it isn't describable in words.
No, you have different emotions, and sometimes it's really funny also where we are in life. You could hear the same thing and it could transport you in a different place. Or you might hear the same thing that somebody else is hearing, and for you it might represent something completely different. You might think of happy, but somebody else thinks it's quite depressive. Like,
yeah, and that can depend on moods, and you can be different at different times, but music just opens that door, and sometimes it even is itself a different world that you go into. And I think it gives you a sense of other realities as well that are possibly with us all the time, or another way of feeling or sensing things. And you know, sometimes I think because music has been so powerful since forever for human beings, and there is certain types of old tunes. When I used to play a little bit more the Irish fiddle, I used to talk to, and I still do play, but I had a period of immersion in it, and I was thinking about it a lot and playing the old tunes and talking to my teacher, and we were saying, oh, I was saying to him, I love the eerie sounding tunes. And we're going, yes, this sounds eerie. And we were talking about how there's that sort of music that seems like it's very old, and probably was very old. And we came to the sort of conversational conclusion that in very early civilization, music was used to give you this sense of another world that literally was next to the world you were in, a portal into another universe. And so therefore it is naturally religious or a spiritual
chant and stuff like that. And
yeah,
it's very, and also like I think it's the ancient Rome. So I'm using a lot of history now with that completely and they, you know, they kind of studied, and there was certain music and certain sounds that influenced people as a mass or made them either happy or sad on certain beats, that was being used as almost like a weapon or like a control, mind control. So there's a lot of studies about this as well. So music definitely has extreme influence on people, and but it's always been there. You couldn't imagine a life without music. Most people that say they don't listen to music do listen to music passively. They just don't realize, because everybody, not everybody, but okay, most people do watch TV or go to the cinema that has music. When you go to shop, any shop, it has music. Like you might say that you don't listen to anything specifically, but there's music always around everywhere. You go for a walk in the forest and the birds are singing.
Yeah, and I think that there is another kind of sound that is like music, and I think you make a music out of it, even if there is no music. Say you hear sound, art, or sounds in the environment, like let's say traffic sounds.
I love that.
A tree, you will make also you make melodies in your heads and rhythms. I mean, I've always done that, and I don't believe that's unusual.
No, there are these. I really love when people do like mushroom and plant music. You know, they put little. I don't know how they. Yeah, so I think it's a lot of. There's a lot around us, and obviously today we have very different sound world to a lot of people. As you know, I studied, well, say mostly classical piano. And mostly because I did a contemporary piano, always been interested in it. And you always, there's one thing that we sometimes forget to think is the sound world of the time that we played the music from. Because that's why sometimes maybe it's hard to imagine what is in the music, because we live in this constant, especially I live in London, so I hear percussion behind me, and and all these sounds that somebody like Beethoven never heard.
Mind you, I think probably there's a lot of noise from the past that we don't even imagine, like
different noise of people working, you know, with manual tools, and you would sit in a house and it would be horses, carriages riding by. Loads of like different sounds. And once you start to think about the sound world, because every sound world influences the people that live in the time. That's why I'm starting to look more and more into also some synthesized sounds and electronics, because I think it's a lot of it is sound that we the time we live, and that's where textures come back again, you know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think so. And people are working together in they're pushing it a lot more. They're more conscious of the need to combine different types of sound making and art making. People are looking to use technology in particular in new and new to them anyway, as we say, Scriabin or before or whatever. But
well, you can do all, but you know what I mean. I knew them.
Particularly looking to do this, composers. I know quite a few composers who are really, trying to do things in different ways and really experimenting and trying to come up with their own solution.
Well, that's the thing of being creative. That's the thing. You can't, to be creative, you have to have that wonder-like sense. This is the thing, wonder-like sense, not the child person, wonder-like sense.
Yeah.
So wonder, and you work together, and maybe it doesn't work, maybe it's not your best work at all, what comes out, but you wonder, and every wonder, as long as you're curious, I think you can create. You need to be curious, at least for me. I think curiosity, and that wonder within you, that is what drives.
Yeah, and I hear that in your music as well. You're not looking to just create to learn things that have been effective before in other people's writing. It's got that immersive, now we're in it, we're feeling it. There's that in your work. I think that sense of not knowing perhaps what's going to come next, but there it is. So yeah, not always, but I feel that, yeah.
Sometimes I just like to.
But, just thinking about, the process of creativity and how that appears in your work.
Thank you. It's actually a really big compliment, so I'm just
it's a kind of observation, I think. Well, we're going to play on the radio show, we're going to play some of the Preludes, and you must choose some and send them to me. And
I'll send you all, and then maybe you choose and let me know. I will send you all. I'll send you the release as well, so you can know the press release, and then
so I will read out for everybody a little bit, and the book and how to get hold of the book
on my website.
Pianists, yes.
It's both physical and PDF. I am very proud of the physical. So I mean, obviously, if somebody uses
let's hold it up, because this might also appear on the video. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's just a beautiful thing, isn't it? Beautiful.
The artwork is by artist Alatang. So it's from Alatang Fine Art. Somebody shared this photo and I saw it, and I just kept looking at it. Look at it.
Yeah.
And I was writing the Preludes. It's called Bluebird.
It's very medieval looking as well. There's a sort of serenity, something medieval.
There's just something to it. I looked at it and I was like, I've got to have it.
Yes.
These are the Preludes. I don't know, but it's just, I looked at it and I knew. So I found the person who drew the original painting. I messaged her. She lives in America, and she was kind enough to just allow me to use the image for the album and for the book, and just as long as I credit her. So beautiful artist Alatang. I was a lot. I mean, I really like this painting, and I find it's called Bluebird, right? So the most important thing is here.
Yeah, there's the light. That bird is like a light.
It's like a light, and
a sort of mental light. I can't
maybe
light.
You know the Philip Pullman book where they have little spirit animals.
Oh yes.
Compass, the trilogy of the nice trilogy.
Yeah. What's yours? Is that yours? Are you a bird? Is yours a bluebird?
I don't know. Maybe something I will think about. I don't know.
Yeah, I would love to have a flying creature as my symbolic partner, my soul partner. But I think I'm probably got something like a cat kind of thing.
I think cats are amazing. But I was just thinking, could there be like something like a little creature, like a flying cat? Is
So, yeah,
something fly forth and like go through and then turn into like a tiny dragon? Dragon cat. A dragon cat is my spirit animal.
Yeah.
A little dragon cat is my spirit animal.
Yeah, that's it. It'd be always be in your face though, wouldn't it? Get rid of it. That's funny. Well, what a lovely idea. Thank you, Ieva.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking, actually, I'm going to stop recording. I was just thinking, what's the end? That's this recording up here. That's the stop button.